It's important to bring things up well in advance because in development, once something's decided upon, it's very hard for a studio to blow their investment halfway through to make changes. Predecessor's map size is way too small, and you might think it's a hot take, but I think we need to go back to something that's more legacy sized, if not larger. And I think if you get to the end of this video, you'll end up agreeing with me, so hear me out. In the beginning, Paragon started with its legacy map, a map roughly 20% larger than Predecessor's, but because of the larger size map, Paragon had something called Travel Mode. Travel Mode was an out-of-combat mode that granted incredible movement speed similar to what we see in Paragon the Overprime. The short of it is that it was removed in version 28 because of the degenerate tactics that it incentivized. This left a problem where the character's base movement speed without Travel Mode was snail pace, and that was blamed for the overall game length being an average of 80 minutes, with some games even stretching to 2 hours. In version 32, they swapped to a map that was 30% smaller, known as Monolith, the same map that most of Predecessor's assets come from. At the same time, they cranked the base movement speed of heroes up to 11.
The first thing you'll notice is we have increased base move speed across the board and removed travel mode. Games should be faster, fluid, and more action-packed.
These two changes were very controversial, and ultimately, the game shut down in version 44. Map size is not the determining factor of game length. If we compare the map sizes of different MOBAs, Monolith had a game average of 30 minutes, Predecessor's games go between 20 and 30 minutes if people don't surrender, and Legacy had an average of 80 minutes. League of Legends, the most popular MOBA, has an average of 25 to 30 minutes, and Dota 2 games are an average of 25 to 40 minutes. Despite both MOBAs having larger maps than Legacy, they both have shorter match times. Now you might ask, why is a larger map better? Well, we'll take this example of Seismic. He's a top 30 player. He's probably one of the best Gideon players in the world, but you can see he's been run out of mana by his opposing Howitzer because he was able to take the river buffs from him, so he goes to take his recall. Howitzer stops his back here, so ideally what would happen is he has to take his recall anyway, and then he'll lose minions because Howitzer should be able to push the minions under turret, denying him some gold and experience. But if we speed it up, you'll see what happens is he gets back to the lane and he misses nothing. There's no punish. It's very hard in this game to put your opponent behind. If you kill someone, sure, you can get ahead, but they're really not losing anything. Now, I'm going to pick on Seismic one more time. This is the same game. He gets level 6, he pushes one wave mid, and then he roams over to the duo lane to do a gank. He manages to get the blink on, I think that's the support, but he doesn't end up getting any kills. If we go back mid, you can see Howitzer's shoving the wave back, and he does manage to get it shoved back, but by the time he gets pushed under turret, Seismic is already back in lane and he missed one minion for that roam. The start of that second clip was 4.5 minutes. Do we really want lane phase to be over at 4.5 minutes? Because at that point, the mages can just clear one wave, go gank a lane, and never have to interact with each other anymore. And I don't know that that's healthy gameplay, and I don't know that that's really fun, but at the high level, that's what the meta is. A larger map wouldn't just allow players to punish rotations and bad recalls, it would also give designers room to fix the biggest issues in the jungle. Jungle camps aren't secluded enough from each other, and jungle overall doesn't really feel jungly in my opinion. Just because I say I want the jungle to be more open doesn't necessarily mean I want it to be claustrophobic either. A larger map would allow us to have more spacious areas around Orb Prime and Fangtooth, while also allowing the developers to make a good compromise between the labyrinth-style maze of the Legacy jungle and the more open areas of Monolith to allow for a bit of team fighting in the jungle and a little bit of skirmishing as well. At the same time, having a larger map would not just allow the jungle to have verticality in the form of walls and whatnot, but would also allow the jungle to have different elevations with hills and maybe different lows, not like canyons, but just different elevations in the jungle to mix things up and allow characters with verticality to take advantage of that more. The jungle needs to be deeper behind the T1 turrets to make invasions more risky. As it stands, it's far too easy to go for an invade without lane priority and still get away with it after being collapsed on. There's also a complete lack of minor neutral jungle objectives other than the river buffs, but that's more of a mid laner thing anyway. I'm not saying we need to bring harvesters back, but recently Dota added watchers, which give vision in a small area for 7 minutes. They added in mini bosses for the solo laners to kill. They added in lotus pools in the river that spawn healing items occasionally, and they added in 12 neutral camps on the edge of the map. I'm not saying this is what we need, but I am saying I hope the developers go nuts. Now, there are some cons to having a larger map. If the map gets too big while they're trying to fit in all the fancy things the community wants, it'll make rotation times too long. They can solve this to a point by making the base movement speed faster, but there is a limit to how far that can be pushed. Otherwise, it'd be impossible to hit anything. Higher base speed will make skill shots and auto attacks harder to hit no matter what you do. Using Gideon as an example, higher movement speed would require his rocks to either have a faster travel speed or have a larger AoE to maintain the current hit percentage. If you make the AoE rock larger, the rock will be a lot better in choke points and team fights, so there really is a lot to consider here. Last but not least, for all my solo lane homies out there, having a bigger map does make the solo lane into more of an island unless they add some sort of objective to allow them to impact the state of the game for the rest of their team, or add in some sort of teleport channeler like Dota just added in, or I don't really like how the teleporter in, Paragon the Overprime is implemented, but you can add in one like that as well. It's pretty similar to how Dota's works, but I think Dota requires a channel. There are a lot of ways. I know League solo laners get more experience, so the few times that they do impact the game in team fights, they have usually more strength than the rest of their teammates, so they have more of an impact if they can get ahead. Things like that. There are a lot of things that you can do. I'm just saying, I hope they don't make the excuse that it can't be done. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day.